Hey everyone, Josh here. Before I get started, just to make sure everyone knows that we're going to be doing full spoiler talk about the Batman movie on here today. So if you're watching right now, if you're watching the archived version of this stream after the fact, and you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to hear any spoilers, uh, then maybe dip out of this one and we'll just catch you next week and make sure you have a chance to see the movie before you hear us talking all about it. You know what? Just noticing that I didn't turn on my lights back there. Can you see? Can you see the lights? This light's pretty bright. I think it's making that hard to see. How's everybody doing today? Back on the Wednesday schedule. Yo, Scott Knight, what's up, buddy? Back on the Wednesday schedule. We'll be back on that for the foreseeable future. Maverick, hey. Johnny boy, what's going on, man? Yeah, we haven't seen you in a minute. Whenever I see your comments, I'm like, oh, haven't seen Johnny boy in a minute. Johnny boy seeds Empire. What's happening? Everybody get a chance to see the Batman? Feel free to jump in with your thoughts about it. Dunkel guy, how's it going? So I have we're right now, like, the channel is on the end of this big long streak of like a lot of reviews. Like, I think like damn near like 3 weeks straight, I think, of a daily review with Dark Knight Returns and Endless Winter and Future State and the Batman, etc. And I was the horse one just released today. The Build a Horse. I've got other things other reviews that I want to show you guys and put out, but I feel like it's time to. We need a breath of fresh air, right? So what is going to drop tomorrow is my DC Multiverse top 10 capes video. And I think Friday, I like I said, I still have some more reviews to post, but what I'm going to do Friday, it's been an interesting couple weeks. We just hit like 3,000 subscribers like 2 weeks ago, a little over that. And now I've got, like, the channel has 600 more subscribers since then, which is just like mind blowing. Huge growth is just incredible. And so what I had happen was I had ordered the Gotham Knights Batgirl, and what arrived was the artist proof one, which I have no desire to review. I don't hang on to the artist proof ones. I just don't. It's a matter of space. I don't want to take them out of the box because they're kind of special, and I know other people, put a lot of value on them. So I think we got to do a giveaway, and I think Friday is what I'll post. We're gonna give this away. I'm gonna send it to somebody, and then next week. That way, I don't think I still have to get a painted Batgirl. I still have to post the Penguin review. I still have another review that I'll tease in a bit. But I could save those for next week. We got a bunch of new reviews that we can all watch in the meantime, and then let's get some fresh stuff happening on the channel, right? So that's a little bit of coming attractions the next couple days on here. Morky Moose, how's it going? Glad you could make it live, Kyler. Johnny boy, yeah. You say you've heard people having issues with getting an artist proof without wanting one. I was talking about this a little bit last week. Am I framed kind of weird? that I got that artist proof one, and then I was like, well, I'd like to order another one so that I could get a painted one. But I see a lot on Facebook groups and stuff. People say, yeah, I got a artist proof swamp thing, which I didn't want, so I ordered another one, and I got another artist proof. So I'm trying to like maybe if I wait a little bit longer to reorder that Batgirl, hopefully they cycle out all those artist proofs. Maybe they've got a backlog of them, and those are going out before the painted ones for some reason, like all in a row. I don't know. I'm just trying to increase my chances of getting what I'm trying to get. Curran, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Chris Winkler, do you end up getting a bunch of those platinum ones? I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. Like they are worth more. They go for more. Aftermarket. People do try to acquire them and hunt them down, but for me, I just don't need more figures in boxes taking up space. I just generally don't care to have toys in boxes. They're taking up space, and I don't get to play with them. So it's just not what I go after. So yeah, time to share the love, I think. Colette, I'm really once I get a painted version of this Gotham Knights one, this is going to be the one that I have with my Bat family until we get like a more traditional Burnside style one, because I just prefer the Burnside look over the classic sort of gray thing. It just makes her feel a little more unique. You know what I mean? Like the old, like that Three Jokers Batgirl. It just looks like a copycat Batman outfit. I like it when she's got her own little unique personal flair. Feels more like Robin adjacent. So the thought is that whatever eventual Burnside style Batgirl will be the one, but that will be the closest thing until then. Ablaze Scorpion, you got the Red Hood artist proof twice in a row. Yeah, it's frustrating because like I said, I'm just trying to get the regular painted figures. Those of you who are hunting the chase variants and stuff, um, more power to you. All the best of luck. I just don't need them, and especially I don't need to hoard them, I guess, or while I know that other people do find them to be valuable and like having them. So yeah, I'm perfectly content to find a better home for that with one of you fine folks. Oh yeah, Scott and I, you have a buddy who likes to paint figures. Yeah, they're great ones for doing custom paint too, just because they have that flat look out the box. Kendo, your Batgirl has no problem standing, and you've seen people complain about that. I mean, people do complain about. I think they probably complain about people standing in every little figure group, whatever dedicated ones. But generally, just gotta put some time in. Oh, Maverick, you have Shao Kahn and Noob Saibot. Are those artist proof, or are they like the bloody ones, or what are those platinum Mortal Kombat? Oh, Ablaze, you got a refund on both Red Hoods and a free replacement. That's pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, in my experience, if you just go and spend some time and try to um, lock down somebody in the customer support chat, you can usually come out pretty well. It just you got to dig your heels in a little bit. You don't have to be a jerk. You just got to be annoying. You know what I mean? Backyard Legend, what's up, buddy? Oh yeah, you're doing your customs and stuff, so you're painting those things. You've Swamp Thing and Zod. Yeah, you're working on that Zod right now. Oh yeah, okay. So I've gone off on a huge tangent, and oh, Ribby, what's up? Yeah, so I'm definitely hyped for Croc and Man Bat. Morky's studying for biochem. Brutal. I do not have a mind for chemistry, bro. I don't have a mind for it. Legend of Light. Hey, good to see you. You saw the movie last night. Um. Uh, all right. So we're talking about the movie, right? Johnny Boy says he loved the movie. Felt fresh. Yeah, I agree. Like because it felt like the dominant thing about the conversation about the movie, the Batman, was that it's grim and gritty and realistic. And I don't know. I just like when I saw that movie. I mean, does anybody else feel like the realism was the biggest element of the movie? I just didn't feel that way. I don't know. There were enough things that were like larger than life. Dom Life, how's it going? You saw it on Monday. Um, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of grounded elements, and I don't know. It just realism wasn't the quality that struck out to me from the movie. It didn't feel like that at all. It felt like some very comic booky stuff could start happening in any moment, and in some ways it did. Like I mean, and sure, like the car chase, that was more. The car chase wasn't about an incredible um, physics defying stuntacular Batmobile experience. It was just about like, yeah, it's that car is hard to drive, and then it's raining too, and they're driving against traffic. So that's the I guess realistic. It's kind of just this smaller thing instead of feeling like a huge Avengers movie. Um, but I don't know, man. The characters were larger than life. So I was very relieved that it wasn't didn't feel preoccupied with trying to be realistic. Yeah, Curran says Gotham felt very comic book like. I thought so too. Uh, it felt. I mean, like any reservations I had about like a realistic Gotham City, like Nolan, like that they were going to do a Nolan style realistic Gotham City. As soon as I saw like Bruce Wayne's living quarters, like in the tower, like it looks like Tim Burton-y, like times 10. Just all of these overlapping pieces of ornate Gothic uh, architecture. Dom Life says realism isn't what I worry about when enjoying fantasy. Yeah, plenty of real life all around for sure. Yeah, yeah, totally. And it just yeah, and the same thing. Really, the same thing applies to like Snyder's isn't realistic either. And when you get down to it, Nolan's isn't realistic either. Even though it's trying to ground itself in the realities of the world we live in, it's still very heightened. Ablaze Scorpion says you really love that this version of Batman was still learning and not a human god. That yeah, I agree with that, and it really I thought that they were smart about how they show you a little bit here and there. They well, more than a little bit. They show you a lot of like how Batman sort of gets stuff done, and when it comes time for him to actually do something that is like bat swooping, it requires an entirely different piece of gear, and he's not very good at it. Um, I just liked that because it feels like all right, there were if we end up doing more of these movies, we'll get to that stuff that feels a little bit more classic Batman-y, but we're gonna not sort of dig ourselves too far into a corner. Like the Iceberg Lounge didn't particularly look like a comic booky style nightclub. It looked like a real world nightclub, more or less, right? But watching that movie, you get the impression like, oh, if they do another one, you could easily see that Iceberg Lounge being more um, highly themed with the Penguin and where he ends up at the end of this one. Dunkel Guy, the best Gotham yet live action, in your opinion? Yeah, I really loved it. I loved Falcone's sort of office. Those round windows that overlooking that intersection. That just was super cool. Which you can call that realistic because there are buildings like that, but also it was a bit heightened. It was a little larger than life, in just the right kind of way. Maverick, Minnesota says the movie kind of took a Dark Knight version of Batman and put him back into the Detective Comics old school setting. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, and I mean like the journey of him starting off as vengeance, you know what I mean, and then becoming something that could be, yes, that like people could actually rally behind. Yo, Incognitive, what's up? You just got back from the movie. What do you think, Incognitive? Yeah, current. It seemed like he may have never even used that flight gear before, like it was a new idea. Yeah, I'm totally open to that. That was the kind of felt a little Nolan esque, but but in a way that didn't. Um, it wasn't telling us that you're never going to see Batman swooping Arkham City style. It just means he's just not there yet. Desaro, how's it going? Deflex, 1/6 scale figures like Hot Toys. I have a couple Hot Toys, but generally the 12-inch scale is not my jam. Yeah, Kendo, that hit he took with the flight suit would have decapitated him. Oh yeah, that would have like broken every single bone in his body. He would have pancaked. Legend of Light, you love there was a scene in an actual nightclub. Last time that happened was Blade, which is pretty crazy. There was a short nightclub fight in Dark Knight when he's going to get Eric Roberts, and that he's with that girl, and she's like, "Hey, could they turn the music down?" Khaled says, "Man, still Dark Knight is the iconic." Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dark Knight's incredible. The more time goes on, I'm starting to feel like maybe Batman Begins is maybe my favorite of the Nolan trilogy, frankly. Um, not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with Dark Knight. I'm just the more I come back to it, I'm like, man, that movie was really pretty incredible. Penguin is tall now. Well, yeah, yeah. Dom Life said you like the character development. There's a lot of room to show how everyone has changed while we were away in future films. Yeah, right. Yeah, it sets everybody. It's a great, the story of its own. Well, like I should even say, like the Riddler, for example, pretty specific, um, borderline Nolan-esque presentation of the Riddler. Not exactly what we would think of as like a comic booky Riddler, right? Absolutely. And yet, the where he is at the end of the movie, it still feels like, oh, you know what? He's still in play, and maybe he ends up coming to look a little bit more like the Riddler we all know. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like it made some pretty big choices about how they were presenting certain things, but then at the end of the day it was like, yeah, you know what, that stuff you like, it might not necessarily be off the table. We're not going to go full Nolan, and you know what I mean? Dunkel Guy also says also very happy to see world's greatest detective aspect play a role in the film. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I love the way just like the different characters, the way they would the different supporting characters, they would weave in and out of the movie, and they would all play roles in putting that mystery together. Like the part where you really like um well, it's like it's. I was gonna say it's like sort of Catwoman's POV, but it's literally her POV. Because she's wearing those contacts. And then even when they catch Penguin, and he's the one that like points out the bad Spanish. Shadow says Dark Knight may never be topped as a superhero movie. Oh, it's way up there, no doubt about it. It's unimpeachable. Incognitive says it was a Bond flick style Batman. Yeah, yeah, and cognitive, especially even like I don't know, like the fights, because I thought he was like pretty clear from the beginning that Batman could pretty much take down any dude in any room pretty quickly, and yet still the way he kept finding himself getting surrounded by dudes, and they, he couldn't necessarily just like get he couldn't pull like a Arkham style combo, and without getting hit. He got hit with some combo breakers pretty hard. One thing I didn't like, I didn't love that they drew a little bit too much attention to him being bulletproof, like like the one at the beginning in the train station. He gets shot and then he takes that guy out. Okay, all right, yeah, he's got some pretty serious armor on. And then at the end of the movie, he gets blasted with that shotgun, and that actually really damn near takes him out. All right, cool. But then in the middle, it felt like they were leaning on him being bulletproof a little too much. Took me out of it a little bit. Johnny Boy Seed says definitely could pull a Hush. Yeah, yeah. Especially because it feels like we're gonna see more Bruce Wayne, after this movie, and that this could be kind of the beginning of where the more Playboy Bruce Wayne, the more animated series kind of Bruce Wayne could come out of that. Which actually, Robert Pattinson would actually be really funny as that, frankly. Uh, as like as like putting on this facade of being an out of touch rich guy. I think Pattinson's a good actor, guys. He's good. I mean, I mean Twilight. Forget whatever. The other stuff, the stuff he's done with like David Cronenberg and shit. Oh, the Safdie brothers movie. He's got the goods, man. I think he'd be funny to watch. He's got a sense of humor too. I think he'd be funny to see him as a animated series style Bruce. Austin says most of Batman's rogues gallery would feel out of place in this new Gotham. I don't know, especially considering it feels like at the end of it they're setting up like no man's land basically. I feel like they could just throw a bunch of them at us in pretty short order and it feel maybe not exactly like the comic version. Like you said, Penguin's tall now. Maybe not exactly comic style representations, but Maverick, this Riddler was very dark and sinister. Yeah, yeah, he was. It was yeah, it was really dark, honestly. Um my buddy was asking if he could take his kid, and I know his kid has a little bit more grown up taste than other kids his age, but I was still like, I don't know, man, it's bloodless, but the violence that's suggested is pretty rough, pretty horrific. Um current There's a real cool picture of Paul Dano in a suit that's edited to look like a Riddler suit. It looks so good. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it could happen. That's the thing. I feel like they didn't put themselves in a corner at the end of this one. If anything, the end of the movie feels like it could really explode in an even more comic booky direction. Subliminal says I watched Batman '89 for the first time. It wasn't very good. LOL. I guess all the praise is coming from nostalgia. Um, I, I would, frankly, in my opinion, both the Tim Burton movies, neither one of them is a very good movie. They're just atmosphere is kind of the atmosphere and the designs, and the very exaggerated Tim Burton-ness of it all. I think are part of the big things. um, that stuck so hard with people, because it's certainly not. Jack Napier is not any version of the Joker that you would ever see anywhere else, and Batman kills all kinds of people all the time, all willy nilly. You know, it's its own thing. It's not even close to what I would consider like real Batman canon type material, and yet, yeah, it's got a longevity because of the art style, the atmosphere. And I said they're not very good. They're good, but they're also in many ways uh, fairly quaint by today's standards. Johnny Boy sees you like the Zodiac killer inspiration they took for Riddler. Yeah, I did too. And then the whole thing at the end with him, his whole posse stuff. I like, yeah, it was good stuff. It was good. It felt like, the whole Riddler and his like 4chan goons kind of. It felt like current, realistic, and yet not necessarily like a big, like that wasn't like a big, I don't know, like social commentary aspect necessarily. It wasn't. It was just a detail that kind of made it felt attached to the world that we also live in. Things like that. Connecting dots like that, I think, are good. And little kernels of realism like that allow you to then take more fantastical leaps. I'm way behind on comments as usual. Colette says, "Do you see that they always focus on main characters like Batman and Joker in movies over and over without the margin to introduce new characters from the Batman?" Actually, Colette, that's an interesting point because I was trying to think earlier. Outside of this Matt Reeves Batman, um, and Batman Begins, what other Batman live action movies really have Batman as the main character? I think it's just those two. Generally, traditionally, the Batman live action. I don't know if it's in the '90s. It was a deliberate template of after Jack Nicholson of his breakout thing, and then Batman Returns up the ante with multiple villains, and so on and so on. The villains were the star of the show, and then that even continued into. Oh, you know what? Batman v Superman. Batman's the main character of that movie. That one counts too, right? I would say he's the main character of that one. It's a little more of an ensemble, but with Dark Knight, I would say the main character is Harvey Dent or Gordon. Either one of those guys are actually, I would say, the protagonist. I'm doing some hot takes. Dom Life said I had a huge smile on my face at the end of the film. It made me feel the way I felt when watched Keaton as Batman as a kid. I think that's important. It had every classic note I want to see. Kendo says there's a rumor Two Faces coming. Yeah, I could see a lot of villains coming down the pike. I appreciated that they didn't see they put little like Easter eggs and other. I mean, more than Easter eggs, they fleshed out and some well represented side characters. Gil Colson, Falcone, and stuff, and yet they didn't. And they hinted at more of a periphery around that, but they didn't necessarily bring in characters and start making decisions about what those characters are going to look like or anything. Yo, CM Brock, how's it going? Austin said they had 3 hours to set up the finale and they blew it. Which finale? There were a bunch of them. There were a lot of endings. there was uh, there was a handcuffed Falcone. They arrested him, and that was kind of an ending. And then they caught the Riddler, and that was kind of an ending. But then the Riddler's plan wasn't over, and then that had a action sequence that then ended, and then there were a couple more endings after that. It was very Return of the King. That last 45 minutes. Dom Life, you weren't super into Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. Yeah, we didn't see much of him. You're saying maybe the next time will be different, and Bale is still the best in your opinion. Yeah, I liked Bale pretty well, especially in Batman Begins. I could really see Pattinson falling into like a what do you call it? Like a mixture between the Bale and the animated series kind of version of that phony, persona Bruce Wayne. Sky Knight, yeah, there was the Bloodhaven shout out was dope. Dominic says we'll see who they introduce in the Arkham series. We have Riddler, Penguin, Joker. It looks like Two Faces coming. Yeah, kind of disappointed that Gotham PD show isn't happening because that was going to be like a prequel, kind of like a year before the movie. I feel like that would have been a cool way to flesh out some of that universe. What's important to remember is that at this stage, Bruce is unable to separate himself from the Bat persona. That will come in time. Yeah, yeah, that's what I loved about his growth in this. Is it, um, yeah, it feels like it could be a springboard to something more, something closer to what we kind of expect from that Bruce Wayne character. Maverick says the Tim Burton movies were okay for their time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've loved them. I wore those VHS tapes out. I watched them constantly. But they're also not like, especially like I so once the animated series came out and I saw what really is a more kind of accurate version of Batman. I never really was drawing much from the Burton canon. It was more just his sense of art style. Yeah, Austin saying, "What's everybody's favorite aspect of the film?" That's a good question, Austin. What do you guys all think? Austin says Gotham itself was the best character. Yeah, I that's a great answer, Austin. That bat signal montage at the beginning, where it just kept showing all these different aspects, these different corners of Gotham, and and what else? Where I lost my train of thought there. Talking about Gotham being the character in the movie. Oh, like the twins. You know what I mean? Those little kind of goofy details, those memorable details. Just about um, just about yeah how things operate. Yeah, really loved the moment when at the beginning early on Gordon and Batman are talking. They're looking at the photos, and Gordon just really casually says, "That's the penguin." Just that moment, and then he's in that photo that felt very like, old school gangster kind of surveillance photos. I was like, shit, man, this is some cool comic-y shit, man. They're just talking about this like it's not weird, like they're not trying to bend over to explain um, that how things are a little larger than life. It was just allowed to be larger than life. Mike, Shallow Sun, hey, thanks for the kind words, man. Appreciate it. Dom Life says character development, cinematography, and actors' performances were all top notch overall. Yeah, they were a lot of really. I mean, Colin Farrell was my favorite part of the movie for sure. Um, the Selena Kyle felt very comic. Selena Kyle, I really liked how much she was in the movie. I like how much Penguin was in the movie too. It was more than I expected, um, and he was peppered throughout the whole thing. John Turturro is amazing. Oh yeah, Austin the Flood. The Flood was actually really the finale was kind of the it didn't feel particularly huge, but all that stuff with the like kind of yeah the disaster stuff happening. I mean, I was just like because I was just in New Orleans a few months ago. Uh, my parents live about an hour away from New Orleans, so I spent a lot of time down there. And the flooding stuff was like it was yeah, I thought it was interesting to see in a movie. I thought it was an interesting superhero finale sort of setup, a disaster, and not one that's like just 9/11 imagery. You know what I mean? Just buildings, CG buildings falling over, and then then they took the time to show the different what was happening in the city. The different characters, you know, could give you different points of view of how the city was reacting to it. It was good shit. Ian says, "What do I think of the inconsistency of the collective cards of the new figures?" You know what, Ian? I don't really pay much attention to the cards, um, so I don't know. I wish they would be able to um, use the artwork instead of photos, but I don't know. The photos of the toys are fine and all, and I didn't even notice till I got these that I didn't even know that the artist proof cards were done in this like the background looks like a template you would use to draw a comic page. Like it's got the bleed on the side, and the blue marks and stuff that would photocopy out. It's pretty cool. Austin says Kevin Conroy is Batman and Hamill is Joker forever and always. Yeah, absolutely, Austin, and the extra like sort of icing on the cake of that is that I mean, obviously those guys were animated series iconic in animated series, pretty definitive versions of both characters, and then they came back in the Arkham games that are pretty tremendously iconic interpretations of the characters. Whether you like those games or not, I would argue that probably way more people have experienced playing those Arkham games than reading any Bat comic. You know what I mean? It was a way more mainstream thing, like a movie is. You know, and the normies that don't read that comic, they play the games. You know, so yeah, Curran. That's what I was thinking. Could be a nod to the Trigger Twins. Yeah, yeah. I just liked those little details like that. Johnny Boy says it definitely was a plus that it starts us off within 2 years of Batman's career. Yeah, one of my biggest sort of gripes with Nolan's trilogy is that he was Batman for like a year and then he quit for like 8. He was Batman for like a year. That was it, and then he quit. I don't buy. I just don't. I fundamentally don't. Yeah, I can't accept that. Um, CM Brock love the fight scenes. They're crisp and clean. You can see every punch, kick, hit. Yeah, yeah. I liked how Batman could really break a guy down like quickly and easily. But then the fights, once there were a bunch of different guys in there, they got a little sloppier and stuff. I liked it. Oh, Deflex, you're going to see for the second time today in IMAX. That's dope. I would like to do that same thing. Subliminal. Funny thing, Batman didn't save the city at all. Everything was flooded, and he just saved the mayor and some kids. Yeah, it definitely feels like the flood is kind of going to be one of those dangling threads, like in the next one. That the fallout of all that stuff is still really yet to be addressed in a big way. Subliminal. You were waiting for Superman to show up. Yeah, I I don't know. I tend to not need my live action Batmans to necessarily be connected to a greater pantheon. You know, it just starts to get a little weird once you start throwing all the other superpowers in the mix. Doesn't quite hold my interest as much. Um, but yeah, the Uncle Guy says Farrell knocked Penguin out of the park. Absolutely. Dom Life says it was like Colin Farrell playing Joe Pesci playing Penguin. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Very De Niro too. Um, Panda reviews. King Shark was your figure of the year. Yeah, that's a good choice. That King Shark is pretty special. Very very unique shape. Johnny Boy says the thing I can see that is it was like in Mask of the Phantasm. Bruce contemplates about being the Cape Crusader for the girl he loves. Not the case in Nolan. Yeah, yeah. There were kind of echoes in that, but like and that was obviously a big part of Bruce's thing. And in the Dark Knight was he was trying to quit. He was actively trying to quit for Rachel. But then at the end of that movie, she's dead. Harvey's dead. Um, and he's getting the heat pinned on him. It just that feels like such a propulsive and interesting springboard for the next movie. And then when the next movie starts, they're just like, yeah, he quit. People forgot. People even they're not even sure if he even existed. All right, like okay. I just can't keep up with that, with the leaps that would take for that to happen. I don't know. Manga Drawer really love the cinematography. Yeah, absolutely. They killed it. The film looked gorgeous. Yeah, you're absolutely right there. It was a fantastic looking movie. Man, the makeup on Penguin, you guys, whoo, incredible, incredible makeup. I know he's tall, but man, yeah, he just looks like a different person. It's amazing. Deflex one says, since this Batman is so young, there's so much character development to do. Yeah, I'm very hopeful that this new sort of whatever it ends up being, trilogy or whatever, allows him to just be in the cape and cowl for a longer amount of time, have a larger rogues gallery develop, have a Bat family develop even. I mean, I don't know that that's off the table even, you know what I mean? They not saying that they want to turn the character of the mayor's kid into Robin, but obviously the way that kid kept kind of showing up through, yo Cheech, how's it going? The way that kid kept showing up in the movie, um, it feels like maybe and somebody else was I can't think of where I saw it. Somebody else was posting some panels from a Darwin Cook comic where he's basically saying like, oh, like he scares the shit out of some little kid basically when he's trying to rescue him, and he redesigns his costume or something, and he basically says like, oh, I wear this outfit to scare criminals, not children. Feels like a little bit of that could still be in there, especially the way it ends in this, big. It ends on this big humanitarian sort of acceptance of Batman. The Uncle Guy says the overhead shot of Batman leading the group of people to safety was amazing. Established solid hero stuff, and the shift from just being a vigilante in the shadows. Yeah, Dunkle Guy, I agree, and I think also at the end when they're out in the sun is coming up. You know what I mean? And it's kind of that news footage of him, uh, carrying those people. Yeah, pretty. Just it was nice to see a Batman movie that could be a little optimistic. I like gritty. realism. Don't get me wrong, man. I like serial killer Riddler. I love that shit. I love horror movie Batman. Absolutely. Um, but it's nice to see one that could just, oh yeah, you know what? It felt like at the end of the movie, maybe there is space for some of the, for lack of a better word, like bright sunny aspects of Batman, which in my opinion are like the Bat family. That's a little, when I think of gritty realism, I don't think of Bat family. But I'd like to be able to see those characters in a movie. I like Batman Forever. I thought Chris O'Donnell, he's a little silly, but the relationship stuff with him and Dick Grayson, it was pretty good. I think there's room for that. D-Flex's trilogy, The Limit for movies. I made it just kind of the traditional sort of cycle. And then that'll be dependent on whether or not they decide, is this going to be a sort of one of the foundational corners of a shared universe. I hope it's not. I don't think. I think the DC movies tend to work better when they don't try real hard to connect it all and they just let each one be its own thing. You know what I mean? Like this and Joker, that's not a fair comparison because they both feel like 70s like Taxi Driver kind of movies. Um, but like Joker and Birds of Prey and even James Gunn's Suicide Squad the movie, even Ayer's Suicide Squad, the ones that you can watch and not necessarily you don't have to know every single thing, you don't have to see every single movie that came before it. You could get the gist and go in and enjoy it for what it is. Manga drawer, you're saying I thought the young Joker gang member with the half face makeup was legit gonna be set up to be Robin. Um, I didn't have that thought, but I'm glad you brought up those gang members because I was thinking those I even have a screen grab. Tell me if this is a if I'm connecting dots that aren't there. But I really want to go through those gang members and look at all their makeup because I almost feel like they're all Easter eggs. I could see that mouth being. I mean, it could be Joker, but to me, I think of Scarecrow with the stitched sackcloth mouth. There's a face split in half. Do we have to explain who that is? This feels like Ledger Joker with the face scars, and then Azrael, right? Anybody else think maybe that was little Easter eggs? I hadn't seen anybody talk about it. Yeah, subliminal. I didn't need that scene with the Joker at all. I know I'm wearing a Joker shirt, but we've seen plenty of Joker. I'm ready for some of the other characters to shine. You know what I mean? Yo, Phantom Knight, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you, man. Kenny Potter, what's up? Kendo says Reeves has teased some very obscure characters like Condiment Man. That would actually be incredible. Austin's favorite gadget, bat symbol batarang, was tight. Yeah, that was cool. I'm a big sucker for that, like Taxi Driver style, like grapnel gun that launches into his chest or his hand. The thing where he slapped that rope to that like pillar and then kind of free ran down the wall. That was kind of cool. I mean, a little cheesy, but it was kind of cool too. What are the gadgets? He had the electricity thing that he shocked that guy with. I had a surprising amount of gadgets. Oh, and actually, you guys were talking about. Did I see you guys talk that venom? Was that venom that Batman injected himself with? I don't know. That was one of those things where I felt like it was like they don't want to necessarily say that's venom or not, but they want us to kind of think about it, and they maybe want to just feel out the reaction to that and maybe use that as like a gauge for like what are people willing to see as far as that comic booky wackiness. I don't know. Phantom Knight, I didn't pick up any of the McFarlane 12-inch figures. I thought about getting that Commando Spawn from Mortal Kombat a while back. Oh, Dunkle guy, hey, thanks for hanging out, bud. Good to see you. Yeah, Mel Claire. I thought Robin was going to be the kid they kept closing up to. It felt like that was kind of like they wanted us to maybe connect those dots. Johnny Boy said you thought those gang members were juggalos. They did. They did. Yeah. Whoop whoop. Yeah, Zaz would be amazing. Zaz would be a great contender for a character. Do you guys remember the first appearance of Zaz? Did anybody read that? I think it was Shadow of the Bat was the title, the monthly title. The Last Arkham was the name of the storyline. It was a good one. It wasn't the. I don't think it was really connected to the like Amadeus Arkham stuff from the Grant Morrison, but it was Jeremiah Arkham. I can't remember if he's in Morrison's version or not. It's a good storyline though, and they drew Zaz like they drew like the way Bill Sienkiewicz drew the bad guy in Elektra Assassin. That Shield guy that gets turned into a cyborg. He's really skinny, and he's got dark triangle eyes, kind of. God, what's that guy's name? Um, it's a good storyline, and then Batman ends up putting himself into Arkham on purpose because he's undercover. It's a good storyline. Phantom Knight saying, "Am I missing something? But did Riddler know Batman's identity or not? I don't think he did. I think I'm curious to to see it again and see if there's anything I missed there. Dom Life, you're saying he did know? Hmm. Yeah, but he did try to assassinate Bruce Wayne. You know." Manga Drawer, says I just realized this is the first live action movie with no battering. I mean, the thing on his chest, you could almost call it one, but yeah, he didn't really use it like one. He used it like a knife. Johnny Boy, you thought the injection was adrenaline? Um, yeah, I feel like they wanted it to maybe be a little ambiguous, and they let it be green. I don't know if you guys can hear my cat in the background. She's being ridiculous. Current Shadow of the Bat is so good. Yeah, yeah, that was a good storyline. Lord Luigi is saying, even though we saw the Joker, I don't think he will be a main villain in the sequel. Maybe the third one, but I think they just wanted to show that he exists in this world. I hope that is the case. That's kind of what I felt. And then because now Matt Reeves is saying he's not necessarily interested in doing the Joker, it feels like a studio note. You know, they're like, well, you got to put Joker in it. We got to have a Joker. And he's like, all right. That feels like the best compromise he could come up with. And it worked because the scene was still about Riddler's character. In a lot of ways, it was kind of the most Riddler focused scene in the movie. You know, the rest of the time you see him in the movies, that and when he's in custody are the only times you really see him as like a person and not just what he's trying to show you with his jigsaw style antics. Lord Luigi and Deflex are saying Riddler didn't know. What does everybody else think? Did Riddler? I don't think he did because he tried to assassinate Bruce Wayne. Yeah, and Kendo's saying he went after Bruce because Thomas Wayne was dead, and it was the sins of the father. Yeah, well, because the Riddler was trying to the Riddler tried to assassinate Bruce Wayne, and then at the end of the movie, he told Batman that he wanted Batman. He thought him and Batman were in it together from the get go. and that they were going to watch the world burn from inside a padded cell. So I don't think he didn't know. So he wasn't as clever as he thought he was. Oh, Dom Life, you're right. He did say his name. Batman looked at the camera like, "Oh shit, he said my name." Yes, you're absolutely right. I forgot about that. Huh. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I've seen that. That's what happens when you've seen the movie one time. I gotta go back. CM Brock, how did he keep the bat emblem in there? It seemed like he took it out too easily. It could be magnet. Could be electron magnet too. That deactivates when he grabs it. If you want to go all the way there, because he's got electrical elements built into his suit. Desaro says Riddler knows the elite members of Court of Owls and Bruce is heir to the Wayne's involvement. D Sniper, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Curran says the biggest thing I noticed in my second watch was that there's actually no implication that Batman and Selina hadn't met prior to the events of the movie. Curran, so you're saying like you think it's possible that they had already interacted before the movie started? You're saying there's like potential for that to be explored? Mel Claire says, "Hot take. I don't think we're gonna see a Batman Catwoman develops romance." Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't go for any further because it just partially because it seems like Bruce Wayne is kind of very he's preoccupied. He's not thinking about like getting laid. He's like he's got other stuff going on up here, you know. So Samkit Pal, love your reviews. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that, my friend. Kevin is saying that he also said he is the one we didn't get. So Riddler doesn't know. He hates Bruce Wayne, but he loves Batman. He worships him. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it feels a little open ended, but I'm glad. I'm glad it feels open ended. Because, like I said last week, you know, Christopher Nolan's movies are defined by the box that they have drawn for themselves. This box of realism, grounded reality, and to me, that just takes some of the fun toys off the playing field. Speaking of toys, we've been here an hour. I haven't even touched a toy. Actually, you know what? Let me step away for 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I gotta go around this way though. I have a water in here, but I needed a soda, so So what did I miss? Anything good? Oh, are we still wondering if maybe Bruce and Selena had encountered each other before the movie? I do think it's possible. Kevin is saying that the Riddler said to Batman, he said Bruce Wayne. He's the only one we didn't get, but we got the rest, right? So yeah, he said Bruce Wayne in that he was talking about Bruce Wayne was a target, and he was the what he was implying was that he thought he and Batman were in it together. Austin, the leaks, a lot of Batmobiles. Are there new leaks? I feel like I'd seen one a while back that said a Hush Batmobile and a Keaton one, and I believe them. I mean the leaks you got to take them with a grain of salt, but they tend to be accurate. And the Flashpoint movie is coming out this year, so I would have to assume that they're going to promote that the same way they would with Suicide Squad, the same way they would with Matt Reeves, you know, same way they did with Snyder Cut. Yeah, Curran, what'd you guys do while the teacher left the room? Christina says it felt like something out of a comic book, seeing the Riddler and you know who laughing together. It really did, and that like I said, we've seen so much Joker in movies that I'm not dying to see him quite so early. In this new iteration, but it did. It felt like those two in cells right next to each other in Arkham. It was pretty freaking cool, man. Hot Toys teased a Batmobile. Hot Toys has done. Did Hot Toys do a DeLorean? How big was that? Or have they done? Have they done? Did they do a Snyder Batmobile? I'm curious. I can't remember. Oh, Austin, they were confirmed leaks. Are there photos? There aren't photos, are there? Yeah, D Cypher is saying Riddler didn't know. Yeah, I think we're saying Riddler didn't know. I think that's where I'm at. I couldn't recall for sure at first, but I think you guys remembered better than I did. Harvey Dent, great username. It says, "Hey Josh, I'm a Marvel and DC fan. I'm wondering if you watch MCU movies. If so, who's your favorite character?" Yeah, I like MCU. To be frank, I know more about Marvel comics than DC. Just have more experience, like reading Marvel stuff specifically. I just know more about that pantheon. And I like a lot of the MCU. My favorite character, I don't know. My favorite movies in the MCU are Winter Soldier and the Guardians, I would say, if that gives you an indication. Kendo says, so which Batman will be in the next Justice League movie? I'd rather see it be Batfleck, and he can continue to hang out with those guys, and then this Pattinson can exist in a different corner. Mel says if the DCEU is restarting, maybe Batgirl instead of Batman. Yeah, I wonder what. I guess the good question there will be like, what's going to happen? What's going to be the fallout of the Flashpoint movie? Are they going to try to use that to shake things up a bit and then give themselves room to be like, well, if we can get Ben to come back, we'll get Batfleck back, and but also be open to having other things in play. Oh, D-Flex is saying Hot Toys is doing a DeLorean and Ecto One. How big are those things? Very curious to know. what the actual dimensions of that are. Mel Claire says DC Multiverse wise would love to see more of the lanterns. Somebody else had the idea in one of the comments of one of my videos. So this wasn't my idea, but it was a great idea. That if they did a like a deluxe package, sort of like the She Spawn one that was $40, and then it was just a lantern body with different heads, and you could pick Hal, John, Kyle, etc., and then different constructs too. It was a great idea for a lantern like army builder kind of thing. Oh, Johnny boy, you're working on a custom Moon Knight. I haven't watched those Moon Knight trailers yet. I'll watch the show when it comes out, but I just kind of, especially the Disney Plus stuff. I don't keep my fingers on the pulse quite as much. When it comes out, I watch it, and some of it's pretty good, some of it's not. You know, like um, like I loved WandaVision, and I thought it all fell apart at the last episode, and then I thought Loki was boring for the middle stretch, and then got really good at the very end. So that stuff's just kind of a mixed bag. I'll watch it, but it's not. I'm not gonna like live and breathe it. You know. Oh, Harvey Dent. Definitely stoked for Multiverse of Madness. You're saying it seems like they're adapting House of M, so you're excited to see it. You're a big Scarlet Witch fan. Yeah, right. It does seem like House of M, where she's kind of the villain of the movie. Austin saying the Snyderverse is such a mess, you just can't give a damn. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. There's some cool things about it. There's certain deep, um, like man, Jeremy Irons, Alfred. That's the good stuff. Mamma Mia, you love that. Um, Other stuff is yeah, it's just kind of. I just don't think I like a lot of things. I really like Man of Steel. I like a lot of things about Batman versus Superman. And I just think both of those, what Snyder came up with for Superman and Batman, they're really really interesting Elseworld stories. But I just don't think they make sense as being the cinematic Justice League. The casting is good, but just the sort of the tone of the movies just feels, I don't know, a little all over the place. Mel Claire says the Moon Knight trailers are fun. Austin says the Dark Knight's metal movie would be bonkers. Yeah, yeah. The thing I love about like the Dark Knights, the storyline in the book, and then the Future State, the storyline, the comics, they're whatever, but they're both really great like springboards for just cool designs, like the Future State with the neo noir kind of stuff, and then the Dark Knight's metal shit, obviously just the like, you know, leather and like spikes and chains. They're just, I mean, to me, yeah, especially Dark Knights and death metal, just really funny to me. I think they were having a laugh with it. Yeah, Desaro filler episodes in the Disney stuff. That. Yeah, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier got kind of screwed over by the pandemic, but that whole show felt like a filler episode. There was some cool stuff in it, but I think they just got